Welcome, everybody. It's Sunday, February 1st, 2026. This is What's in the News. I'm Chris from the Turn Down for What podcast. We are going to talk about all the exciting things that have happened this past week in the news of electric vehicles. Of course, starting with Tesla, they have pretty much dominated what's going on in the news. It's all about the Model S and the Model S being canceled, and we have had a huge, huge week of debate on what it means and whether the future of Tesla is in vehicles or something else. Is it Optimus? Shout out to my boy Optimus up here on the shelf. And what does it mean for electric vehicle transportation? And is Tesla too soon when it comes to the idea of autonomous vehicles and what they're doing here with their future? So, a lot of different things to debate here. We're also going to talk a little bit about megawatt charging because our boy Jesse from the podcast went all the way out to Sweden with Chempower to see what they're doing out there with electrification of the semi fleet and trucking. That is a huge part of electrification that I think doesn't get nearly as much attention as it should. Tesla Semi is something that we're really hoping to see a lot of progress from here in 26. They announced a bunch of stuff with Pilot, and we would love to see a big emphasis on that coming into the rest of the year. But first, we just have to start with Tesla. They are the big elephant in the room. They really do dominate anything that goes on in electrification when they announce anything big, and you really can't get any bigger than what they've been doing. And I think it really started with them getting rid of autopilot, and that is such a big shift in the way that they've gone about the business of what they do. And that was just kind of a hint of what was to come. And the next big news was at their earnings event. And at the earnings event, they basically dropped a bombshell, which was no more S and no more X. And we had a huge conversation with two legends of the Tesla world, which was Bearded Tesla and our good friend JoshWest 24/7. We've had them both on the show before. And so if you haven't seen that, we did have just a fantastic conversation. Be sure to go check that out. And we really get really into all of that. And Josh, of course, has done a coast to coast trip in Canada with his Model S. And that's an epic journey that he's had. And well before full self driving was out, and fantastic stories from him and all the journeys that he's made in his time. And then you've got, of course, the two of them. Bearded Tesla has gone from Florida all the way up to the Arctic Circle in his Cybertruck, and the two of them went coast to coast in Bearded Tesla's Model Y. So, just fantastic stories from the both of them, and really good perspective because they have seen really the evolution of Tesla, and they've both had a long storied history with the brand and a lot of love for driving. And so we've had just the privilege of being able to get their perspective as owners and talk about what it meant to them and what the brand has in store for the future. So, if you haven't checked out that conversation, it is really worth a listen. It's a long conversation, but one that I think you guys will all enjoy. So, I would start with that. I'll leave a link in the description for sure, and one in the comments as well. And I think that is one worth listening to. So, now as far as I think the big question mark is for me, is Tesla too soon on this? They are going to shut down a relatively small part of their business, which is the S and the X line for Optimus, which they're hoping to do 1 million Optimus robots. Now they'll have to scale that up. That'll take time. They're not just going to launch off the line with 1 million robots. It's going to take time to build the line for that matter. So, they've got a couple years of runway, I would say, to one, shut down the S and the X line, which will happen in Q2 of this year. Then you've got to build out the Optimus line. That's going to take time. Then you start to scale up and eventually get into full production. So it's not going to happen overnight. Then you've got to sell those Optimus robots to customers. And I think that's going to start with the industry. That's going to start with business. It's going to start internally with Tesla themselves. I don't think we're going to suddenly have Optimus robots in our front yards doing the landscaping or in the house doing our laundry and dishes. So, um, then you're going to have to look forward to what does that mean for Tesla themselves, focusing on Robotaxi, Cybercab, Obviously, their 3 and their Y are going to do tremendous, and that's the bulk of their business as a car company. Tesla Energy really does as much profit as their vehicles do. So there's not a lot of risk in terms of the billions they make as a Tesla company, but a lot of their capex money is going to be going into their solar, their batteries, their obviously their AI, and this initiative of robotics. So it's an important transition, and you can tell from the earnings call that they don't have any plans of releasing a new model, so to speak. They're not going to have a cyber SUV. They talked a little bit about the future potentially of the Cybertruck and what that might look like as an autonomous truck and doing local deliveries of freight or things for maybe fleet customers. I got to be honest, as someone that does a fleet operation in my 9 to 5, I don't see it. Yeah, the bed is not made for that. When you're talking about cargo, you're really looking at things more like cargo vans, box trucks, things that unless they redesign the Cybertruck, which is certainly in their capability of doing, but we've heard no hints of that. I don't see that as a fit. We will see. I think a lot of times Elon has incredible aspirations. I am not one to doubt their accomplishments or what they can do. He certainly is way more successful than I've ever been at anything I've tried to do. So, hey, kudos to you, man. You do you. Keep doing your vision. You are right far more often than wrong. I don't see that though. I just don't see an autonomous Cybertruck being something that fleets get into. And these things, again, are just so far down the road. Let me know what you think, guys. I'm very curious. Can you see a bunch of fleet Cybertrucks going around town delivering cargo? It's very hard for me to imagine. So, but that's part of what visionaries do. They imagine before we do. They, even before the early adopters, are out there on the forefront of what's possible in society. But I do think that when you look at society as a whole, there's a whole bunch of the population out there that is just looking for something affordable. And BYD is out there overtaking Tesla in the EV space. And I think the part of the market that is missing is that affordable electric vehicle. I've talked about this on my channel. And I just think that that is a segment that Tesla is ignoring, and I wish they would focus on. They're really bought into this idea of robotaxi and cybercab, and that people may not own their own vehicles. And again, personally, I just don't see it. I think about after concerts and after 49er games and after big events like Fleet Week and anything I've ever gone to, and I try to hail a Uber or a Waymo or anything like that. And all the rates are incredibly expensive. Now you think about hurricanes or natural disasters, earthquakes. I want my own vehicle. I want it in my driveway. I love autonomy as an option. I want it in my personal vehicle. I see it. I understand the vision. I think it's incredibly valuable. I do think there's a huge market for it, but I don't see Americans giving up their vehicles. I do think in the huge population centers, personal vehicle ownership will decline. It's inevitable. I think there's plenty of space in the market for Tesla to sell millions of vehicles. Same thing with Lucid. I think Lucid can make a bunch of money selling autonomous vehicles. Waymo can continue to thrive. It's not that that's not a market. It absolutely is, but it will not in any way be the majority of what people own, and certainly not at the price point we're talking about. Average everyday Americans are going to need affordable 10, 15, $20,000 vehicles, and this is not it, guys. It's not. I just think that there is something when you are that rich and wealthy, and when you are that isolated in a bubble of 40 and $50,000 vehicles with $8,000 FSDs or $99 a month subscriptions that they think will even go higher, I just think there is an isolation there. There is a bubble there. There is a world of tech bro creation that is unrealistic. But let me know what you think. Am I not seeing the future myself? I just think they're way out in front of this. I think that they will have to reevaluate. Maybe the long wheelbase Model Y will come out, but I mean, really, are we really excited about another Model Y? We've got the Model Y, we've got the Model Y Performance, we got the Model Y with an extra row of seats that nobody can use. Now we've got a Model Y with a little bit longer extra row of seats. It's not original, guys. It's not exciting. It's not sexy. It's not I don't know, man. It doesn't inspire me. I want something different. It's not the form factor that my family's looking for. I am excited about R2. I am excited to see what's new from BMW. I think there's some new exciting things from other companies on the horizon. but they're not Tesla. They don't do it as well as Tesla. To see them giving up on what they do best is a bit deflating. I think the Model S is still one of the sexiest, most beautiful, most elegant lines in automotive history, and it still stands up today. So I don't know. We'll see if the Roadster comes out. But again, that's a different vehicle at a different price point than the average person will ever be able to afford. So I think we'll see if it ever sees the light of day. What will come out first, guys? Aptera or the Roadster? That's the second question for the day. Leave that in the comments. Who's got that on their bingo cards? But anyway, yeah, uh, great conversation around that in all quarters. Next thing I think for the news that we want to touch on is around megawatt charging. There was some really great stuff. Just looking again at the big picture of electric vehicles, our co-host Jesse went out with Kempower to Sweden, and this was super cool to see him get to go out there and experience what they are doing. And there was a ton of people out there. People forget how big long haul trucking, line trucking is. So Kempower is a big part of this. And just to see them go out there, we had William roaming Norway from out of spec was also out there. There was a few different folks that we recognized in this group, and just to see this megawatt charging and to see that this is a standard now. There was some question whether Tesla would be all in on this. They are. The what is Tesla calling them? Sorry, the Tesla semis are using the standard as well. Volvo had their trucks out there. There were a couple different manufacturers that man trucking, which we don't have here in the United States. A bunch of these big trucks were out there. So Jesse has a whole video. We just posted that today. So be sure you watch that. And it goes through his whole trip and his flight out to Europe. And it's a fantastic watch, guys. I think you'll really enjoy that. So be sure to check that out. Megawatt charging is a big part of what we'll need to see here in the United States. And Tesla set up an agreement with Pilot, which is super awesome. We need these corridors strategically placed, and that could not have been a better partnership to have. I know with my 9 to 5, that was something going back a couple different years at Act Expo that we were trying to figure out. And as usual, Tesla is leading the way of going through and figuring out a partnership that gets those corridors in place. Very smartly done by them, and they've got their own, of course, V4 cabinets. And so if you haven't seen that, they do have a couple, one here in Redwood City that they've been testing out. And here's a video that I did of that location. They opened up a second one in Utah, and of these will be the same cabinets that they use for their Tesla semis. So I go and I show the cabinets, and they are used both for the V4 superchargers of the future. That's the cabinet right behind here that you can see. And it can either be used for Tesla Semi or for V4 superchargers. In the past, they've just been using the V4 dispensers with V3 cabinets. So we're starting to see those very slowly roll out. But more exciting is that they'll be used for the semis. So yeah, check that out on my channel as well. And let me know what you think about those. Are you excited? We don't hear nearly as much chatter as I think those deserve. That's the big news for this week. There's some other news out there, obviously around EVs, but those are the important ones to me. What have you heard? What did I miss? What do you want to hear more about? As always, we love getting your feedback on the channel, and we appreciate you tuning in. Check out our other videos that we've got out there, and we will see you next time on the Turn Down for What podcast. And of course, Bo Family EV. Don't forget to check out our conversation with Bearded Tesla and Josh 24/7. I think you guys are going to love it. We'll see you the next time.